Hi guys, welcome to another series of Build with Olamide. In our past video, I showed us how to create an AWS account, and if you have not seen that video, I'm going to be dropping the link in the description below. Ensure you click on the link and watch the video before coming back to this video. Now in today's video, I'm going to be teaching us the exact step to take before you start building in a cloud environment. Now remember from the previous video, I said before you start spinning up resources, building project, or setting up anything in your AWS account, there are some important same things you need to do on that AWS account. Now at the end of this video, you will learn how to create an IAM user account. You will learn the difference between a root user account and IAM user account. You also learn how to set up an MFA, that is your multi-factor authenticator, on both your root user account and your IAM user account. Currently, the first account you have access to when you set up your AWS account is your root user account. You use your email and password to access your root user account. Now, your root user account is very powerful. It has access to all the 250 plus services in the AWS console, and you can literally do anything with this AWS account. Now, the intricacies there is that if anybody gets your root user account, they can literally turn down the infrastructure of your organization. They are also going to be stealing your credit card details because you have your card attached to that root user account. Now, how do we prevent all of this breach? And you are also advised to not use your root user account to carry out your day-to-day activities or your deployment, setting up a project, and strictly you are advised to use your IAM user when carrying out every project as we go from zero to cloud in this journey. Now, what's different between your root user account and your IAM account? I just talked about a root user account. Your root user account has all the administrative access. It is very powerful. But what if they steal your username and your password? They can easily close down your infrastructure, steal sensitive information from the organization database, and steal your financial details. But I'm very sure you don't want that to happen to you. IAM account is used to control the access to AWS accounts. Just like the name implies, IAM means identity and access management. With IAM, you can strictly authorize who have access to a particular resources. This simply works just like Active Directory, whereby you can limit the user to a certain number of services they can work with. And not to make this video long, I'm going to be dropping a link to learn more about IAM, but I'm going to be giving you a perfect example of how this works. Now imagine you're a cloud engineer in an organization managing about 50 users, and these 50 users are going to be using the same AWS account. Now you don't have to give everybody the same access. With IAM, you're expected to give the least privilege to every user. Out of the 50 users, one person might be required to have access to just 2 services. Ensure that particular user just have access to those 2 services. If another person have just access to just 4 services, ensure they give access to just 4 services. But you also be wondering, I am the administrator and I need access to a lot of services, right? You can also create an IAM account for yourself and attach an admin policy to the account. Now with your IAM account, you are safe to carry out your day-to-day activities. So even if anybody hack your IAM account, you can easily go back to your root user account and reset that password or close down that IAM account. So you're on the safer side, practicing and building projects with your IAM account. Now let's dive into the AWS console and let's see how you yourself can create your own AWS IAM account with admin access. Now let's create our first IAM user. From the AWS management console, this is our AWS management console. Click on this search bar and search for IAM, which is identity and access management. This helps you to manage access to AWS resources. And this is how your IAM dashboard looks like. But if you look at it, we have one security recommendation, which is advising us to add an MFA for our root user. We're going to come back to do this after creating our IAM user. So on the left hand panel side, you're going to find these IAM users. Click on IAM users, and I'm going to be creating my own IAM user with administrator access, and I'm expecting you to also create your own IAM user with administrator access, because this is the account we'll all be using to build our project from time to time. Now this is very important. So I'm going to click on create user, and I'm going to give it this username as well, build with Olamide. Yeah, okay, I think I didn't spell this correctly. Build with Olamide. You need to provide access to the AWS Management Console. If you don't turn this on, you will not be able to sign in into this environment because this environment is known as the AWS Management Console. So ensure you turn this on so that the user can have access to this environment. Now ensure you click on custom password. You need to set up your own custom password so that you can remember the password. But if you look down below, you'll find this password that says user must create a new password at next sign-in. Now, this means that if you are creating an IAM user for another person, probably the person just need access to just the EC2 instance, and you had the permission, EC2 full access, and you send this credentials to the person will have to sign in with your own custom password. Then the person will be prompted to create a new password, right? So that they can have a muscle memory of what their username and password looks like. So you're not recommended to choose a password for another user. So that's why this is on. But since this is our own personal account, we can easily just turn this off because I don't need to reset my password anymore because I'm creating this IAM user account for myself. But remember, if you are creating this IAM user account for another person, ensure you turn on this button so that they can set a password that they can easily remember. And just in case if anything happens later in the future, they cannot come and hold you responsible that you also have access to their IAM account, or probably you one way or the other sneaked into their account. Just to make sure that you meet all security standards, ensure you turn this on for somebody when you are creating an IAM account for another user. But when you are creating for yourself, you can just turn this off. So I'm going to be giving this a password. Then you're going to be clicking on next. Now, when you get to this environment, you can add permissions to this user in different ways. Now, the first one is to add the user to a group. Now, when you click on create group, you can create different groups and add permission to that particular group. Now, immediately you create a group, anytime you add a user to that particular group, each user share the same permission that have been added to that particular group. Now, let me give you a clear example of how this group works. You're working in an organization where there are different units. You have the HR guys, you have the developers, you have the finance guys. Now, each of these groups will require different services. Now, for the developers, most of them require you to use the compute, the storage, the networking, and the serverless services. Now, most of the HR guys might probably need just the storage services, just to store their files and all their recommendations in the S3 bucket. Now, when you create a group, each of those groups will be named and you can add the right policy to it. For example, I'm going to create a group for HR. I'm going to create a group for HR and just add the S3 permission policy to them. So I go to S3 full access and I'm going to create this user group. So what this means is that if I add any user to this particular group, every user that is added to this group have these same permissions that have been attached to them. Do you understand? But currently, I don't need to create a group. So I'm very sure you understand how this group works. Now, I want to attach this policy directly to this user, which is built with Olamide. I need to attach the administrator access to my account because I need this to have access to all the services within the AWS account. So I'm going to attach the policy directly, and the right policy to attach your administrator account is this one right here, the administrator access, AWS manage job function. Now this is the permission to add to your AWS account. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to scroll down and click on next. Now you can see everything we've done so far under the review panel. I have my username, build with Olamide. I have my administrator access. I have my permission policy, which is the administrator access. And what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to click on create user. Now I have successfully created IAM account with administrator access. Now this is the sign-in URL, my username, and my console password. This is the user credentials, and if you are creating this IAM account for another person, you can easily download this CSV file. You will find these same credentials in the CSV file, or you can email this instruction of how to sign in into the IAM account, and it's going to also have these credentials inside the email. So immediately click on email sign instructions, it will open out all your email accounts. You click on Outlook and all you just need to do is attach the person's email and you set both the instructions and the credentials down to the person. But this is going to be for yourself, so you can easily download the CSV file and ensure you keep this file securely to yourself, because nobody must have access to this CSV file. It's your IAM access credentials, right? And I always recommend that most times you don't really download it because you know what your username and your password is. So always ensure that you keep your credentials safe out of predators. Now, after creating our IAM account, before we switch into the IAM account, we need to add MFA to our root user. So I'm going to switch back to my IAM dashboard and I need to add MFA to this account. So all you need to do is to click on this add MFA button and it's going to take us to a new tab. Now I need to add a device name. So I will name this Build with Olamide root. So this is going to be my device name for my root account. After inputting your device name, I'm going to recommend this Authenticator app. Ensure you use this Authenticator app because today we all have mobile devices and computers where you can easily download an MFA app and create your authentication. So we'll all be using Authenticator app. Click on next. Now, when you get here, you're going to click on Show QR Code. Now, we're going to be scanning this QR code to add MFA to this particular account. Now, before you download any MFA, I'm going to specifically be recommending two MFAs app that you can download. One is the Google Authenticator, and the other one is the Microsoft. Now, why am I recommending Google and Microsoft? Because they are cloud-based. Just in case you lose your mobile phone, you can easily get another phone, log in into your Google account, and have access to your Google Authenticator. Do you understand? So this is why I'm advising that you either use the Google Authenticator or the Microsoft Authenticator. So I'm going to go into my MFA app, which is the Google Authenticator on my phone, and I'll be clicking on the plus sign and scan this QR code. So I have scanned this QR code. Now I have the codes on my phone. So I'm going to put in the first code into the AWS console. That's 379900. Now I'm going to wait for this to time out. So you can see wait 30 seconds and enter a second code entry. So I'll wait for an extra 30 seconds and input the second code. So we have 529970. And I'm going to be clicking on the add MFA button right here. Now after adding the MFA, switch back to your dashboard and refresh the security recommendations. Now you could see I have 0 and it's completely on green. So this is how to add MFA to your root user account. Earlier in this video, I talked about creating a zero spend budget. Now, one of the biggest fears every beginner have is to just receive an unexpected AWS bill. Now, AWS budget helps us to control how we monitor our spending in the cloud environment. Now let's create a zero spend budget and I'll teach you how to navigate that. Now go to the right hand side here on your console, click on your name and switch to this billing and cost management. Yeah, so when you get into your billing and cost management, you can see something like this because I have not accumulated any bill on this account. So don't panic when you see data unavailable in your own AWS account. But as we go further, I will teach you how to navigate this environment. Now let's quickly go set up our AWS budget. So scroll down and you're going to find budget under budget and planning. So click on budget. Now I want you to click on this create a budget button. And right now we are going to be using just a simple template. And there you're going to be finding this zero spend budget. Now, the zero spend budget allows you to set your minimum threshold. Now we're going to be using this zero spend budget. Now you can create a budget that notifies you once your spending exceeds 0.01 cents. So meaning that you can set a zero spend budget. Zero spend budget means you are spending below $1. Now we're going to be having this default name as my zero spend budget. But yes, you can always edit this, right? Now ensure you put in your email. This is the email AWS will send a notification to you that you've actually spent 0.01 cents, and that is if you set your budget threshold at 0.01 cents. Ensure you type in your email in this box. Now once you are done attaching your email, scroll down and click on create budget. Now our zero spend budget is active. So by default, our budget is just $1. But if you follow every steps we're going to be taking as we build together, I'm very sure that in a month, you may not even spend up to 0.05 cents. All we need to do is spin up resources and turn it off back after we've seen our final results. Now click on my zero spend budget and you can find the edit button right up there. We want to see something. Now, when you get to this part, set your budget, just scroll down to the extreme and click on next. Now, I need to show you where your alert threshold is. Now, remember we set up a zero spend budget. That was a template we used. And the alert threshold is 0.01 cents. So that means that immediately you spend up to 0.01, AWS will send you a notification. Out of the $1 that's our budget, I might want to add more alert threshold. So immediately it gets to 0.01 cents, it should send me a notification. Now immediately it gets to 0.5 cents, it should send me a notification. So you can scroll down and click on add alert threshold. So you can change what's the budget of the threshold. That should be like 50%. That's 0.50 cents. So you can always like be creative about this. Just set this up according to how you want your budget to be. Now there's actual cost and there's forecasted cost. Now I used to make sure that I have one actual cost and I also have another one which is the forecasted cost. Forecasted costs are costs that you've not accumulated yet, but AWS is trying to let you understand that as you are currently running this service, by the end of the month, you will have so amount. Do you understand? Now this can give you an insight of how your AWS account is currently running. So if you have some services that are currently running your account and you don't turn them off, once they are already accumulating a bill and AWS is already giving you a forecasted cost, you can easily come back and check which of these services are currently giving me a forecasted cost. So before it gets to the actual cost, which is 0.50, AWS would have given you a forecasted cost ahead of time. So most times I also have the actual cost, which is when it gets to 0.01 cents, okay, you can alert me. But I want to also predict that as I'm currently running the services in my account, in case I have anything running and I forget to turn them off, this guy can easily let me know that my bill at the end of the day might eventually result to 0.50 cents. So immediately I get any forecasted cost, I go into my AWS account immediately and I search through if I have any services that I'm currently running. And most times, yes, because students can easily forget an EC2 instance running. And if you don't set a forecasted bill, if you have actual bill, that means that that EC2 instance will charge you up to 0.50 cents before you eventually get a notification. So why not get a forecasted cost that they can easily predict and warn you ahead that if that service keep running, you will get this amount. I guess you understand the logic behind the forecasted cost and the actual cost. So ensure you had one more forecasted cost and input your email address. So I'm going to be using build with gmail.com. Now, once you've added your email, click on next, scroll down to the extreme, click on next as well. This will just give you a preview of what you've done so far. The first threshold, which is the actual cost, the second threshold, which is also your forecasted cost, and you click on next. Scroll down to the extreme and click on save. Now we already have our zero spend budget with two alert threshold, one with 0.01, which is the actual cost, and the forecasted cost, which is 0.50. Now once you are done doing these settings on your root account, you are advised to sign out of your root account and now go into your IAM account for the final setup. So I'm going to click on my name up there and you have the sign out button down here. So we're signing out and I'm going to be opening up my CSV file to pick my credentials for my IAM account. And I'll be copying the console sign-in URL and I'm going to be pasting it here. Now, the reason why I need that URL is because our account ID is attached to it. Right, so I'm going to show you what this is the account ID. If I didn't paste the URL, I will not be able to pick up this account ID. So that's why I had to paste the sign-in URL so that I can have my account ID automatically added here. Now, as we go advanced to the class, I'll teach you how to also create an account alias. So you don't need to randomly cram this 12-digit number. So let's paste in our username. Going back to my CSV file, I can find my username. So I'm going to copy and paste it as well. And my password, go back to the CSV file, copy and paste it. I'm going to be signing in. Remember, I didn't turn on that user must create a new password at signing attempt, and that's because this is my own personal account. Remember that. But if I turn that on, it's going to prompt me to reset my password instead of coming in directly into the AWS console. Now, this is my IAM user account, and I'm very sure if you followed this video up to this stage, you'd have created your own IAM user account. Now, the first step we need to do is to ensure that we also secure our IAM user by going into IAM. You get to click on IAM, which is Identity and Access Management. On our IAM account, in the IAM dashboard, we are also asked to add our MFA, which is very, very important. Now, remember, we added our MFA from the other account, which is our root user account. Now, we are coming to our IAM account to also add MFA, just in case anybody spoof either your root user account username and password or your IAM account, they pick your account ID, your username and password. They also need this last authentication, which is MFA, to finally sign in. So you can see one of the reasons why we are adding MFA to our account. I'm going to add MFA. I will sign out and sign in again to see how the MFA works. So give it a device name as well. Remember the last one, I named it build with Olamide. This is IAM. Now I have for root, so I'm also creating for IAM. Click on the Authenticator app. Remember, I recommended just either the Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. So click on the show QR code, go into your app, click on the plus sign, and scan the QR code. So I'm going to be scanning the QR code from my end there, and I'm going to be adding the code to this box. So the first code I have here is 857-950. So I'm going to be waiting for another 30 seconds. So this app can generate another set of code, and I'm going to put in the second code inside the box. So I have another code which is 674893, and I'm going to click in on add MFA. Now I have successfully added MFA to my IAM account. So if I go back to my dashboard here, I have 0 recommendations. So let me sign out and sign in of this IAM account so you can see how the MFA works. So sign into console. By default, I have my IAM account credentials saved. So I'm going to click on sign in. And now, even after getting my account ID, my username and password, I need the last authentication, which is MFA. So I go into my app, look for my Build with Olamide IAM MFA code, and I'm going to be typing this in. And voila, we are inside our IAM user. So how to identify, just click on this, your name here. You can see IAM user. So this shows that you are in your IAM account. Please ensure you use your IAM account for your day-to-day activities. Now, if you come back to cost and usage, you see that it's actually going to be telling me that I don't have access to see any cost or anything related to billings because this is not my root account. So anytime I need to go back to my bills and everything, I go back to my root account. Now, before we conclude, remember, these are AWS best practices. Never use the root user account for your daily work. Always enable MFA. Use IAM users for your daily activities. Ensure you create billing alerts and your budget. Always ensure you secure your credentials and never share your AWS password publicly. So your AWS account is now secured and it is ready for learning. So in our next video, we are going to be fully riding in this AWS management console. I know you are very excited, and just like I am excited, we need to like dive deep into this environment and see how it works. So if you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Also drop your questions in the comment section. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.